After 18 years of marriage, Grace Adams was abandoned by her husband upon discovering cancer during a routine exam. Right then, the man revealed that he had been having an affair for years. He just didn't imagine the hard blow that life would give him next. Grace and Anthony Adams had been married for 18 years. They lived well together, amicably, and almost never fought. They had married when Grace was 19 years old. She was young, at the height of her beauty and desire to venture out into the world. But gave it all up for the love she felt for Anthony, a man who was 8 years older than her. Anthony had a stable job at the time, had traveled extensively, and had several girlfriends. For him, it was time to settle down and start a family, and he pressured Grace to give in to that dream as well. She felt safe with him and, as a result, gave up the opportunity to study at Stanford University in California at the end of high school, to stay with him and get married. Grace's parents at the time tried to convince their daughter otherwise. After all, her future was at stake. But the girl was convinced that if she was accepted at Stanford, she would also be accepted at some good university where she was. And that's how Grace got married the following year. The wedding was very beautiful and had the presence of her family and friends. During the wedding, when she heard the groom say that he promised to love her forever and be her faithful companion in life, Grace couldn't bear it and was moved, without knowing what actually awaited her. Married, Grace and Anthony were a beautiful couple who got along well. Grace took care of the house and kept up with her studies while her husband worked outside. Sometimes he took longer to come home, saying he needed to clear his head when the workday had been too difficult. In a short time, Grace became pregnant, which completely took away her chances of entering another university. She didn't even have time to be sad about not being able to study anymore, as the arrival of a child was a wonderful event. Although she had no higher education, she was able to help her husband with his work and even managed to start a small business of her own. After a few years, Grace realized that her husband had changed. He became distant, moody, and often stayed out late. She tried to talk to him about it, but he'd always had an excuse or brushed it off. One day, during a routine checkup, Grace received the news that she had cancer. She was devastated, but she knew she had to be strong for her family, especially her young children. However, when she told her husband the news, he couldn't handle it and walked out on her, revealing that he had been having an affair for years. Grace was heartbroken and alone, but she refused to let her illness or her husband's betrayal defeat her. She fought hard and eventually beat the cancer, but her marriage was irreparably damaged. In the end, Grace realized that she didn't need a man to be happy or successful. She started a new business and dedicated herself to her children, who were the light of her life. She learned to love herself and appreciate her own strength and resilience, and she knew that no matter what life threw her way, she could handle it. Said he would drop out of college and take the first flight to take care of his mother. But Grace stopped him, saying there was a chance that it was not serious, and even if a tumor were confirmed, it could still be benign. That night, Grace began taking the medications suggested by the doctor and said a silent prayer. The next day, Anthony, who worked as a manager for a large company in the city, came home from work and asked to talk to his wife. He was very serious and determined. Grace expected it to be something related to his job, or maybe even a move to California to be closer to their son. Since Anthony always made decisions without consulting her, it could be that he was preparing some kind of surprise like that. However, what she heard from her husband divided her life into before and after. It was something she never expected to. Grace took on a leadership role within her department, which made her financial situation much more comfortable and secure. She was now able to save more money. Since her tumor had been found at an early stage, her treatment was progressing well and gave indications that she could win that battle. When she completed a year at the publishing house, Grace took a vacation with her doctor's consent. She traveled to Milan, Italy with a friend, a place she had wanted to visit since adolescence. She explored every corner of the city with joy. She continued to take her cocktail of medications but exuded good humor. Her accompanying friend interpreted that it could only be the euphoria of someone who could finally enjoy freedom and make her own decisions. In just over a year and a half, Grace had become a different person, fighting to stay alive and happy. If there was one loose end that connected her new persona to the old Grace, it was the fact that she had separated from Anthony but had not actually divorced. Anthony had not sought to formalize the separation, and she was not interested in tackling all that work. Apart from this detail, her heart was free and light, as if nothing could shake it. The woman took a new battery of tests, and her doctor would give her news as soon as the results were out. Grace continued to take her medications correctly and even enrolled in the gym. She never imagined that she would feel so good, even when ill, at nearly 40 years old. But 2 days later, a new client for the publishing house walked through the front door. And Grace's world took another turn around the sun. It was Jacob Rowling, an old-school boyfriend who was now a moderately famous writer, and had just closed a contract for 2 more books with that publishing house. Grace was designated to take care of Jacob's contract, and that was how everything started again. It took only 2 meetings for them to realize that they were in the same wavelength, complementing each other's thoughts and words. First at work and then in their personal lives. Not even when they were just 2 kids playing hooky to meet had they felt such a strong connection. Jacob was the same age as Grace, had no children, and had been single for a year, which he used to write his new book. Unlike her ex-husband, the woman's cancer did not scare the writer, on the contrary. He reacted with optimism and said that she could count on him whenever she wanted. After their first dinners together, Grace and Jacob dove into a torrid romance. It was almost as if they were teenagers again. Jacob's book was released, and the publishing house, which deepened their relationship. And Grace was able to accompany her boyfriend all the time. Organized launch events in various California bookstores. In addition, Jacob was finally able to meet Henry, with whom he got along very well. The young man liked the stories he had to tell about his mother's school days. While they were all together, Grace's phone rang, and it was her doctor. The 3 of them were very apprehensive, because the results of the latest tests were still pending. The doctor then congratulated his patient. The fight was over because she was practically cured. Grace, Henry, and Jacob hugged each other emotionally. To celebrate this fact, Grace and Henry took a week's vacation in Paris. As soon as the book launch was over, during a dinner overlooking the Eiffel Tower, Jacob took a box out of his pocket and opened it, revealing a gold ring. The writer then asked Grace to marry him, leaving the woman speechless. She did not expect such a request so soon, but she also felt that she still had traces of fear. After reflecting, she realized that she was now a much stronger and more aware If you enjoyed the story, please be kind enough to leave a like. Share this video, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our updates. Until next time.